Welcome back to Techerati 2019. We're live in London at the Excel Arena or Excel Centre, whichever you want to call it. I think it's just plain Excel actually. And if you haven't done so already, do follow us on Twitter. You can use the hashtag Techerati 2019. You can also use the hashtag Disruptive Live. And I'd also like to introduce our next host, and he's a familiar face on Disruptive actually, none other than Bill Mew. Bill, good friend of mine. How you doing?
I'm delighted to be here. It's been a very busy show, great footfall, lots going on, and obviously topped off by an appearance here with you guys.
I'm here having you back.
Well, I'm here at the show, busy launching a company of mine, which is going live in the next 10 days around crisis management, helping people sort of fish them out of the soup when they have a cyber crisis, they have a digital issue, a breach or whatever. There's going to be a lot of legislation coming this way, a lot of litigation and a fair number of data breaches, so we'll be kept busy.
Watch this space indeed, but I think we should actually introduce our first guest, do you not think?
Well, I think it's straight over to what I think is going to be a fascinating discussion with Stuart Moulton. Stuart, please, we're dying to find out more about, so please introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about what your role and what your main focus is.
Certainly. So my role at Bell Integration is I'm an account director. I have a specific set of accounts, but I also have a speciality in the Internet of Things. I've just come out of Cisco after 11 years, the last 4 years in the cybersecurity space.
Mm-hmm. And tell us a little bit about IoT and obviously the growth within 2019 as well, because this is huge from Bell's perspective, right?
It is, absolutely. Being an integrator and focused on IoT at this point is absolutely amazing. And part of the reason for that is we've got what I consider to be a perfect storm coming together in the IoT space. We've got the realization from companies of the potential of IoT. We've got the growth of cloud. We've got the growth of IoT devices all coming together at once. And in order to create an environment where people are looking at IoT and thinking, that is something that can fix a problem in my business. It can be a platform for business success. How can I use it?
But you've also got to balance the risk and the rewards here. The rewards, obviously, from IoT are a greater access to data, a far broader ability to monitor all things high and low. But there comes with it a sort of security and a privacy aspect where there is a risk involved. How do you think people should sort of go about sort of working up towards IoT and ensuring that it's safe?
Well, certainly, you're absolutely right. A lot of the IoT devices that you might want to connect to the internet are legacy. They were never built to be connected, some of them. You know, in the manufacturing space, some of that connectivity has rudimentary security applied to it, rudimentary passwords. It's not really designed for that. And when you would connect it to the internet, you expand that attack surface for cyber attacks. So you've got to be extremely careful. So what you do is you think of cybersecurity as a business enabler. You put it up front, you put it center to your plans. So when you're thinking about IoT, cybersecurity is not an afterthought. Cybersecurity is central to the design and to those very early conversations inside the business.
Yeah, and more specifically as well, why cloud? Why does it have such a specific role, a pivotal role to play within IoT and within IoT organizations as well?
One of the things that we found at Bell Integration is that IoT can be the victim of its own success. So you start off with a limited proof of concept. A limited proof of concept in an IoT world might be 30,000 devices. We've certainly got customers looking at 30,000 device deployments at the moment just to test things out. The issue is, and the reason that cloud comes into that, is it's so scalable. It's the cornerstone for IoT, and we work very closely with all the major cloud providers to pull that together so that scalability becomes part of the solution. You can scale it up when you need to, from the 30,000 devices up to the millions of devices if you require, but you can also scale it back. So if you're talking about something which is agricultural, for example, that doesn't have a function during the winter, etc., you can scale that back so you're not paying for compute power that you don't need in order to monitor those IoT devices.
But surely scaling is also part of the problem, because we've got a growing number of devices, from sensors to any other kind of devices. We've got 5G on the horizon, meaning there's some very big pipes coming our way, and the data volumes are just, in many aspects, growing exponentially. And these are companies that don't necessarily have IT budgets that are growing exponentially or growing at all, and therefore
it's SMEs as well.
You need to be getting a handle on the data and your whole IoT landscape.
Absolutely right, absolutely. Bell works with a number of specific data analytics companies so that you can extract the most, whatever you need out of that IoT. Now there are two types. There could be just command and control IoT where all you're getting is log data back from those devices, but alternatively you could be in the manufacturing space where you're getting live feedback, real-time feedback from a connected lathe or whatever else that you need to adapt in order to make sure whatever you're producing is the absolute top quality. So you need to decide what data you need coming back from that, make sure it's protected, but also, like Bell Integration, work with companies and give that data analytics a focus.
Yeah, but this is where the cybersecurity aspect comes into play as well. And how does that really come into play with the perspective of, say, IoT architecture as well? Where does cybersecurity play a pivotal role in that too?
I think the cybersecurity piece is in the cloud, but it's also in the devices and the way that you communicate with those devices. I take your point about 5G, but narrowband.
On Bill's point, actually.
Narrowband is a very viable technology as well for communicating with those. But I think the architecture itself must have security built in from the device right the way back to the connection, the hub, and into the cloud with whatever cloud provider you're using.
Yeah, and just quickly as well, give us an overview of really where Bell Integration is going right now in terms of the next 18 months, 2 years. Not only just as you're predicting the market and what's going on with a pattern, but also yourselves as a business as well. Tell us a little bit more about what's going on with Bell right now.
Sure. Well, the key about Bell Integration is the second word in the name, integration. So we're working on our own. We're working with ecosystem partners. We're also working strongly with vendors. And what Bell does is everything from cradle to grave IoT. We transact, transform, run, and recycle. So at the front end, we're transacting for customers, making sure that they're getting the optimum out of their deployments. We are transforming with migration to the cloud, data center migrations, etc., consulting. We're running data centers for companies and we're running environments, and then we're recycling at the back end, making sure that companies are GDPR compliant, that they can reprocess hardware, make sure it doesn't get on the marketplace, and make sure that it's ethically disposed of.
Yeah, all good stuff.
And in all of this, obviously, we need the security baked in, we need control of all the different devices. Where do you see some of the big changes moving ahead? People have joked about toasters. People have even said, I think that you mentioned earlier, there was a beer tap on show here at the show, which has been monitoring the temperature and the flow of the beer. These are obviously a sort of light-hearted anecdotes. Where do you see much of the real value coming for the clients that you're working through with some of the expanse and the wider adoption of IoT?
Yeah, great.
The conversations we're having with clients at the moment involve connected locks, assisted care, for example, for the elderly, whereby you can monitor the elderly to make sure, or the infirm to make sure that they're okay and their health is okay. You're not calling on them all the time, etc., etc. The wildest thing I've heard in the last couple of days is connected bison. So in Kenya, they're monitoring animals to see if they're being approached by poachers or approached by wildlife and lions and tigers. Because, for example, when a lion turns up, the animals split in a different way than when a poacher turns up with a gun.
Right.
IoT is a solution to problems, and it's looking for those problems and realizing the potential of IoT.
Yeah, no, great stuff. I think IoT can go anywhere now, I think, and also for the greater good as well. I don't think it's there just for people to necessarily make big margin on or anything like that, but also as well, there's certain things, like we said, healthcare, social care, and even helping, in this particular case, the bison or buffalo. Which one?
Exactly.
Which one?
Well, we look forward to possibly you coming back in future and giving us an update, because it's an area that is growing massively, and it's going to provide real potential, and we look forward to hearing the next chapter.
Thank you very much.
Exciting times.
Thank you very much, Stuart. That was Stuart Moulton there, who's an account director for Bell Integration. So thanks very much, Stuart. We're going to take a short break now, actually. We'll be back within the next, 1 or 2 minutes, would you say, Bill?
We'll be right back very shortly.
Yes. See you soon.